have a quorum, and it's time to start the meeting of the Board of Directors. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Director Hendricks, Director Richardson, Director Peck, Director Hines, Director Wright, Director Wyrick, Director Compuris, Director Fortson, Director Adcock, Vice Mayor Webb,
Here.
Mayor Stadler.
I'd like to call on Director Wyrick to lead us in the invocation.
For the rain and the cooler temperatures, please guide and direct us in our meeting this evening. Be with each of us as we make the decisions this evening, and that they will be for the direct benefit of our city residents and city workers. A special prayer for our mayor, our police chief, and our fire chief. Be with our city manager as he works with the details of running our city. Prayers for the Carpenter family as they have lost their beloved mother. Heavenly Father, we have a number of senior citizens in our city and in the audience tonight. Please grant our seniors strength for today as well as bright hope for tomorrow. Teach us to love, support, and respect the elderly as you do, and to see them as the knowledge keepers and dreamers of our time. Be with each of us as we travel home tonight. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And will you please stand and we'll join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we get to the agenda, we're going to start with some presentations, and we're not going to go in the order that they're listed because we're still waiting for a couple of folks to get here. So I will call on Director Adcock first for the Southwest Community Center Cardinals baseball team presentation.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have asked Michael Harris, who is the director of the Southwest Community Center, to join me. I think Michael Harris probably does the best job there is on his community center. You know, we have lots of times that we have thousands of people coming to Southwest with the Latino ministry that we do. And if I call Michael, he can operate 1,000 people coming, lining up for the Latino consulate visit, a wedding shower, a birthday party, all at the same time. So I think he's a pretty fantastic person. Michael called me the other day very, very excited. He wanted to know if I thought that the board could entertain the Southwest Cardinals coming up before us because they had won a state championship. Now, that's these young men right here in the front row, if you can get a picture of them. And they're going to come up in a moment and introduce themselves. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about them. On Monday, July the 2nd, the Southwest Cardinals won the 2018 Arkansas Amateur Baseball Association Junior A State Championship at the Morton Ballpark. The Cardinals are sponsored by the City of Little Rock Southwest Community Center and coached by Todd Johnson. The Cardinals defeated the Batmen in the championship game on July the 2nd. In doing so, they got their revenge because the Batmen were the only team that had defeated them in the tournament. On the way to winning the state championship, the Cardinals also won their district championship. This group of players is a true definition of team, and I think that we all know what it takes to make a team, and they are a team. Some of the 15 Cardinals have played ball before, but maybe not together. They had some experience, but we also had some that had no experience. The fact that they won the state championship is special, not because they are just the best team in the state, but also since this is the first year the Cardinals was in the Arkansas Amateur Baseball Association competition. Not only is this the first year they have been in the league, this is the first year the Cardinals have even played together as a team. They had to quickly learn how to work with each other, support each other, and rely on each other's strengths in order to succeed. The season started on March the 26th and ended with July 2nd state championship. In just 3.5 months, these players and their coaches and family members accomplished a great deal with this win. They are to be congratulated. So please join me in congratulating them. we have a plaque for them to put into the community center, Michael. And it says, Mayor Mark Stoller, the City Board of Directors, the City Manager, Bruce T. Moore, congratulates the Southwest Little Rock Cardinals 2018 Arkansas Amateur Baseball Association Junior A State Champions. In the quest for the championship, the players and coaches showed outstanding sportsmanship, participation, leadership, responsibility, and great teamwork. So, Coach Johnson, if you will come up here, please. And young men, if you would come up here around the podium. Is this another coach? And Coach, your name, please?
Doucette. Officer Doucette.
Officer Doucette.
Yes, ma'am.
Police Officer Doucette. I'm sorry. The other coach is Police Officer Doucette. Thank you and welcome. And I see we've got one in training here. Young men, this is your plaque to be put in the Southwest Community Center. So each time you go in there, you remember how it was to win and how important teamwork is, because that's why you got this, is working together, listening to your coaches, and being one group out there winning for Southwest Little Rock. Coach?
Thank you.
And I have a microphone. Here it is. So we want each. Okay. Guys, okay, there it is. We want each one of you to tell us three things: your name, your age, or your school grade, either one, and where you go to school. And I'm going to start here and just let you pass it down. And I need you to look up here at these people, because that's where the camera will get you.
My name is Jonathan DeLeon. I go to Easton Intermediate, and I'm 11 years old.
My name is Noah Serrano. I'm 9 years old, and I play second base, and I go to Southwest Christian Academy.
My name is Aiden Robinson. I'm in 4th grade, and I'm 9 years old.
My name is Zach Carson. I'm in the 5th grade, and I go to Easton Intermediate.
My name is Luke Moore. I go to Jefferson Elementary, and I'm 11 years old. My name is CJ Cooley, and I go to Pine Forest, and I'm 11. My name is Cameron Russi. I'm 12, and I go to Pulaski Heights Middle School. My name is Cameron Russi. I'm 12, and I go to Pulaski Heights Middle School.
My name is Omari Williams. I'm 11 years old, and I go to Booker Arts Magnet.
My name is Anthony King. I'm 11 years old, and I go to Lisa Academy.
My name is Caleb Doucette, and I'm 11 years old, and I go to Lisa Academy.
My name is Noah Coburn. I'm 11 years old, and I go to Ryson Elementary.
Thank you. And could we have the parents stand, please? Let's give the parents a hand. And if you all would please, let's give the players a hand. Mr. Johnson, would you like to say a few words about your team? Right here. Or you can use the mic.
Well, thank you, Board of Directors, for inviting us down this evening. And also thank you to Little Rock Parks for all the cooperation and the avenue that you give these kids to play sports, specifically baseball. Baseball can be an expensive sport, and for us to have Little Rock Parks and for the city to continue to fund that, it's a good thing, because some of these kids probably won't have an opportunity without the generous things that you guys do, and I really appreciate that. We, Ms. Adcock mentioned most of it. These kids went 33-3 this year. And we played out of District 6. There's 6 districts in the state of Arkansas. And we won our district, and then we went to the state championship there in Morrilton, and the top 2 teams from every district was there, and these guys came out victorious. We have a great group of coaches that helped me, and one was Officer Doucette, who have put these guys on a very strenuous regimen before that. We'd win a game, and he'd have them over there doing exercises. So But we've got some great parents and good support. So again, thank you guys.
Vice Mayor, I would like to call attention to one of the players on this team. And Luke, would you come up here, please? I know some of you have not seen Luke, and some of us, seen him grow up around City Hall. But Luke is the son of City Manager Bruce Moore. Thank you very much. Officer, did you have something?
We want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. These guys really did. They worked hard, and like I say, I tell them every practice. Baseball has a parallel with life, and I told them, they set goals. Few of these guys I've been coaching for about 4 or 5 years, but we got together, and we collab with the rest of the team. But I always make them first thing we do when we first get together, we set goals, and they have accomplished them every year. And I try to teach them, you may not reach those goals, but on your way there, you will reach great expectations, and you will become great. And I teach them to work hard, and you see what I got to deal with. This is the future. So we thank you guys.
Michael, I'd like to thank you again. And John Eckhart, thank you too, because this is an example of what we have in Southwest Little Rock at the Community Center. Thank you, young men. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
No, ma'am. They said it all.
You're welcome to say something. No. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, and again, congratulations from everybody. I'm sorry that Mr. Carpenter isn't here because he's a big Cardinals fan. He would be very happy to see the jerseys, and we wish the St. Louis Cardinals had the 33-3 record that you all have. Okay. Thank you very much. We have a retirement recognition. Mr. Moore.
Vice Mayor, members of the board, another bittersweet moment for us, but we have our own Officer Kevin Bart Simpson, who is retiring after 28 years of service to the city. I'll tell you a little funny story. Because Kevin Bart used to be president of the FOP. And so I always sort of knew him as Bart, and then I would get a call and it'd say Kevin Simpson. I was like, who is that, But we finally figured out, and I really enjoyed working with Bart as we moved the city forward with the police department and the FOP. He said, so some of the accommodations include accommodation bar, homicide detective, unit accommodation, and numerous civilian accommodation letters. He said, I really can't, when I asked about the favorite memory of the city, he said, I really can't narrow it down to just one, but I am proud to say I was a Little Rock police officer. I truly lived my dream every day. His plans for retirement, I have no definite plans for retirement right now other than to enjoy life with my beautiful wife, Jade. So at this time, let me ask Chief Buckner to come forward. Chief.
Vice Mayor, members of the board, Mr. Moore. This is a good day for Kevin, a sad day for us. As Bruce has mentioned, he is serving a number of different capacities in the police department, some of the high-profile units like being a homicide detective. But most recently, he was in not so high-profile position, but very important for us. He was in our FOI unit, and they're very busy, as you all well know, the things that they have to deal with. And he volunteered to go there after leaving the detective's office. So we greatly appreciate that. But none of my appreciation is more than his service with the FOP, both the local, state, and even with out of the national office. He's done a great job with that. And while the chief and the FOP have not always agreed upon everything, he has always been one of those voices in the room to make sure that we disagreed in a very professional and constructive way. And I greatly appreciate that about Bart, and we will certainly miss that and certainly hope that he continues to stay around so that I can call him when we're having some of those contentious moments. Absolutely.
Executive Citizens, thank you for your 28 years of service to the city of Little Rock. I wish you the best in retirement. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
I'll keep this very brief. Just to all of you, directors, Mr. Mann, Mr. Moore, thank y'all so much for the recognition. As he said, I am somebody can truly say that they lived their dream. I lived it for 28 years. Only thing I ever wanted to do growing up was be a police officer, and I achieved that. And my goal when I became a police officer was to be a homicide detective, and I achieved that for 16 and a half years. 23 years of my service with the police department was as a detective. It's been an honor to serve my brothers and sisters at the Little Rock Police Department, and it's been an honor to serve the citizens of this great city. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Bart, don't forget to mention your beautiful wife, Jade. She's right here.
I would have been okay had you not done that. My beautiful wife, Jade, is standing over there taking pictures, and now she's going to kill me and you. But yes, we've been married for 9 years, and she married into this crazy life that I've lived all this time. So it's great to have support at home, and that's what you need. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. We will now move to the third presentation, the 2017 audit presentation. Mr. Moore.
Thank you. This time we have representatives from BKD, our auditing firm, David Coleman and Lauren Berry. David?
Yeah, I thought everybody was here for me to see about the audit, but I've realized when you talk about baseball and animal shelters and stuff like that, you get a packed house. But it is our absolute pleasure to be in front of you today to present the 2017 audit. The audit is a year of hard work, and we were able to get the audit out when within the time frame of our goals this year. So I did bring Lauren Berry with me. Lauren is a senior associate on your job. That means that she is here day in and day out when I'm not able to be here to kind of keep things rolling. So I'm going to let her make a few remarks, and then I'm going to try to explain OPEB to you, and then we'll talk a little bit about pensions, and then I'll answer your questions. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
So, of course, we can't talk about the audit without thanking Sarah, who's sitting back there, and her team. They work, as David said, extremely hard to make our job easy when we come out here to audit. They do a really good job, and because of that, we were able to issue our opinion mid-June, so 6 months after year-end, which I think the city should be proud of. That's extremely a lot of hard work and dedication going into getting the audit out.
So just to add right there, so the past couple years, the audit was issued late. And the reason for that was you have multiple pension plans. And so when you have a lot of pension plans and benefit plans and money going in different places, there's a lot of moving parts with that. So it takes a lot of planning up front so that the city can have what it needs to issue its financials and we can do the audit. So that was the reason last year that it was late, is we were waiting on things. But this year we met early during the process and said we're going to get this thing issued by mid-June so the city staff can go about its business. So
So I'm pleased to let y'all know the city received an unmodified opinion on the financial statement. So that's kind of auditor code for a clean audit. It's called unmodified if you actually read our opinion, but no surprise, clean audit. The city also, for 35 years, has received the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement. So this is kind of what all of the cities are chasing. I kind of compare it to like the Emmy or the Grammys. Everyone really wants it. They're working really hard to get it. And the city's already submitted this year's CAFR, and we anticipate that they'll get it for a 36th consecutive year. That's, again, something the city should be very proud of. So there's this huge 200-page book in front of you, and everyone always says, Lauren, I'm not like you. I don't sign up to read CAFRs for fun. Like, what do I do with this? Where do I even start? So a good place to start, if you're wondering, is the Management's Discussion Analysis. That starts on page 4. Pages 4 to 24, and it kind of has a good outline, kind of gives you an overview of what happened this year, the major moving pieces, and then it refers you to the footnotes to anything. So say you're looking at fixed assets and you're like, hey, I'm kind of more interested in this. It lets you know where you can go to if you want to get into more detail on that. So that's a great place to start. So I'm going to turn it back over to David to talk about the fun stuff.
Okay, so this year we implemented GASB 74. So GASB 74 required governments that pre-fund their OPEB plan, which is your other post-employment benefit plan. So what that is that's benefits that you pay retirees other than pensions. So health insurance. So if a city or a government pre-funds that liability, which you all have, you've been you have set aside $4.3 million to fund that liability. So if a city pre-funds that liability, we had to adopt GASB 74, which you did this year. So this is a precursor for next year. Next year we have to adopt a GASB 75. And so you have heard everyone talking about pensions for the past 3 years. Well, next year is step 2. It's the OPEB standard. And what that is, it's going to require you as a city to book your entire liability at year end. It's going to be on the balance sheet. So if the city of Little Rock shut its doors today, whatever actuarially you would have to pay retirees, you're going to have to book that as a liability. As I said, you have been proactive and set aside $4.3 million, but you'll still have a liability of $10.4 million next year when we implement the standard. So if you have not set aside that money, your liability would have been $15 million. Okay, so again, that's just something to look for next year. We did implement the standard this year. It was pretty time consuming, but we were able to get through it. I can't do an audit presentation without talking about pensions. Pensions is on page 71 of the CAFR. There's 30 pages of disclosures regarding your pension plans. I will say the city is doing what it needs to be doing, what the actuaries tell it to do in order to whittle down those liabilities. So there's not any drastic changes in the liabilities this year. As far as a management letter, we are required to issue a management letter. There was no significant deficiencies, no material weaknesses that we have to report to you. So that being said, that's the audit in about 7 or 8 minutes. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Director Compuris.
Would you go over the pre-funding liabilities again and where that money comes from, and if it has to be honestly earmarked, or can it be part of our reserve fund until others come up?
Sure. So the OPEB liability, again, is what you could draw upon to help fund that retirement liability. So the accounting standards say in order for you to be able to count money against that liability, you have to put it in a trust where the city cannot touch the money. The money is in the city's financial statements, but it's in a fiduciary fund. So you have $4.3 million out there that's managed by a pension board that reduces that liability, but you cannot legally get your hands on that money. So whenever you, as a board, say, I'm going to contribute $1 million to this trust, it is truly a trust. So the standard was set up that way so that you didn't change your mind once you once you made the contribution. So if you would have made the contribution and then you were able to take that money back out, we would have a host of accounting issues. So that's why they
Well, what happens in year 3?
year 3.
4 point something this year, 10 next year.
No, the 10 million, the 10 million is your total liability. So it's your net liability. So your total actuarial OPEB liability is $14 million roughly. And you have $4 million set aside in a trust that reduces that 14 million down to the 10 million.
Right, but is there a third step after that, or is 14 million a cap?
No, it's not a cap. That every year, every other year, the city has to have an actuarial study done. So an actuary will come in and study trends of city employees to determine what that liability is. There's a lot of estimation in that liability, and you can't get it perfect, but the actuary does provide that number to the city and to us.
So we have 4 million right now,
The 4 million is what you have set aside in a trust fund.
and we have already set that aside.
Sir. If you would not have set that aside, you would have had the 14 million.
Right, but my question is then in the 19 budget, Bruce, is that part of the 19 budget?
Yeah, and I'm going to ask Sarah to come on and just clarify one point.
Yeah, so a couple of the things that are important to understand. When we are doing our audit, we've got governmental accounting standards that we adhere to. And so the fund-based financial statements that I present to you on a quarterly basis with the general fund, that does not include these liabilities that he's talking about, the pension or the OPEB. That is presented only on what's called the government-wide financial statement. And that is a statement that consolidates all of the city's funds and presents it like you would see in a publicly traded company. It's kind of a going concern thing. So it does not affect our annual budget. We have annual contributions that we have to make, that we budget for, that reduce that liability over time, but it's not something that we have to come up with the remaining, $6 million next year or $10 million next year.
It's a long-term liability.
That's what I wanted to know. That was, I mean, when you said next year we're 10 million, I thought,
No,
that is a big hit.
It's like a bond. Okay, like a bond payable where you.
Or a mortgage, if
Yeah,
you think
right.
about it as your mortgage.
I understand, okay, I understand that, but when you said we have to put 4 million and then we have to have 10 million next year, I thought, whoa, wait a minute.
That's just the liability that you're going to be required to put on
Fine,
your
that is, that's the house payment we have to come up with
Well,
before we.
it's the total, it's not,
sure
it's
you're
the
awake over
mortgage.
Right, it's what our total mortgage is for this fund.
The 4 million is your equity.
Okay.
Director Fortson.
Once you say Governmental Accounting Standards Board, you've about covered all I know about that subject anyway. But once we begin to, I assume municipalities all over the country are going to have to make these same kind of adjustments during their audits this year. And I'm assuming because of that, this fact that that will present a negative net worth in potential, that's not going to have any effect on bond ratings, is it?
Well, I'm not gonna answer that yes or no because I think it all depends. It's been my experience that these numbers have always been there. Okay, there's no surprise on your rating agencies. These numbers have always been in the back of your CAFR, included in RSI is what we call it. So it's been footnoted, but the standards say, okay, we're just going to make you put it all up front now so you can see it. So it should not be any surprise to your rating agencies. Now, I think the most important thing that you can do as a board is to monitor it and make sure you're funding it appropriately, doing what the actuaries tell you to do. So I think that probably plays more a role in the rating than the actual liability.
I guess Bruce or Sarah, we have various municipal entities whose pension liabilities get consolidated up into ours, don't they? Is that correct? Yeah. I started to say subsidiaries. They're not subsidiaries.
Well,
They're
no, we
elements of
do have
government.
component units, such as Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Central Arkansas Library System, Central Arkansas Transit Authority, Rock Region Metro. There are several component units that are presented in our comprehensive annual report. The primary government of the city is separate. Their totals are next to that, so they're really not together as one number. It's all included in here because they're all part of the city as a whole, but they're separately disclosed within the CAFR.
But in presenting a financial picture of the city as a whole, do we have any control over whether one of those entities is properly funding their liabilities based upon what the actuarial requirements are?
Well, part of the reason that they're considered component units is because we do exercise some control over them. And so, yes, I would say the answer to that is yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Director Adcock?
Sarah, does this 14 million include the airport and the convention bureau and all that, or is that just City of Little Rock?
That is just the city of Little Rock.
Do we know what the combined total is?
I'm not sure that the others offer other post-employment benefit plans. For the most part, it's our police and fire members that receive those benefits because they tend to retire before they're age 65. We don't provide any health insurance benefits for a retiree after the age of 65 once they qualify for Medicare. And so it's typically, and the benefit is not like that we pay 100% of their insurance. The benefit is that they are a participant in our group plan, get to take advantage of the group rates, and we pay a percentage of that. But that is what generates this liability.
Yeah, that's kind of a difficult concept to understand because if you had 10 people that were all age 20 in your plan and you had one that was age 80, what's going to bring all the rates up? So that's what that's the liability that you have. So in theory, your retirees are bringing up the cost of your insurance expense.
Director Adcock,
That's it. Thank you.
Question? Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. And again, to Sarah and your team, thank you for the work that you do all year to get us to the point where we can get an audit.
Just to end, they did a great job this year, and we're very proud to be here and be a part of it and to work with them. So thank you all.
Thank you. We will now move to the agenda, and we will start with a modification. We have an addition, M1 resolution, and I need a motion to add this to the consent. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We will add this to the consent agenda, and we will add this. This will be the last item, please, on the consent agenda, Madam Clerk. And then on the second page, we have two deferrals, which we can take together. If I can get a motion to defer and a second. We have a motion and a second to defer. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Okay, these items will be deferred. Item 3 will be deferred until August 7th. Item 13 will be deferred until September 4th. Okay, now I see I have two members who have questions, and the first is Director Wyrick, and this will be before we start the consent agenda. Director Wyrick?
Okay, I wanted to ask a question on the deferral on item number 14. Mr. Moore, when we had talked yesterday, you had said August. So can you tell us why you're saying to defer this to September the 4th?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you've not been here to talk to us about this every time it's come up. So if you could enlighten some of us on what your thought process is.
Sure. As the board is aware, we typically do one or two budget adjustments throughout the year based on revenue and expenditures. I plan on presenting that on August 14th and you all voting on August 21st. So it will be at that point where we're able to see where we are as we adjust And I thought it was important to get that completed and then bring back the CareLink proposal.
Okay, and I apologize for asking these questions after I didn't get a chance to wave at you.
Okay,
Okay.
that's okay.
On the number 13, did Mr. Mattingly, did he give you any report on whether this September the 14th would work with his plans, or what the situation might be with CareLink?
We're not, we did visit yesterday, and he was going to visit with his leadership team. And it's September 4th, not 14th, though. It's September 4th.
Did I say 14th? I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Thank you.
We're good?
We're good.
Questions? Okay. Thank you. Then we will move to the consent agenda. And Madam Clerk, will you read the consent agenda with the exception of item 3?
The consent agenda consists of a motion to accept the 2017 audit, a resolution to set August 7th, 2018 as the date of public hearing to consider the abandonment of all that part of North Catillus Road right-of-way located in the northeast quarter or southwest quarter, section 13 T-2-N, R-14W in the city of Little Rock, Pulaski County, Arkansas, and for the purposes, a resolution authorizes the city manager to execute a contract with Burns and McDonnell in the amount of $55,000 to conduct a solid waste rate study for the Public Works Department, and for the purposes, a resolution authorizes the city manager to execute a contract with Township Builders Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $716,670 for Plantation Drive sediment removal, and for the purposes, a resolution to authorize the city manager to approve a contract increase for Gene Summers Construction Incorporated in the amount of $29,515 for additional improvements to 18th Street from Peyton Street to Washington Street, and for the purposes, a resolution to amend Little Rock, Arkansas Resolution number 14,733 of March the 6th, 2018 to establish that the correct source for the purchase of one skid steer loader with a 4-in-1 loader bucket is Clark Equipment Company, doing business as Bobcat Company, and for the purposes, a resolution authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with Alltac Industries Incorporated in the amount of $185,105 for the purchase of an 18-ton crane truck for the Public Works Department, and for the purposes, a resolution authorizes the city manager to execute a contract with Clark Machinery for a total repair cost of $135,392.50 for the repair of a link belt track hoe for the Public Works Department, and for the purposes, a resolution to appoint Ellen Frank, Vice President and General Counsel of Red Development LLC, and Linda Hinton as General Manager of the Promenade at Chenal Shopping Center, Commissioners of the Promenade Multipurpose Improvement District number 10 of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes, a resolution to appoint a new commissioner to the Board of Improvement for the Twin Lakes Recreation Improvement District number 1 of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. That concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt and a second. All in favor of adopting the consent agenda? Aye. All opposed? Same sign. The consent agenda is adopted. We will now move to the separate items. We will start with item 11. Madam Clerk, would you please read item 11?
A resolution authorizes the city manager to submit the approved 2018 annual action plan for CDBG home and HOPWA entitlement funds to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and for the purposes.
Thank you. And I have a request from Director Adcock.
Mr. Moore, I had requested that we not look at this until after you had an opportunity to look at some information that Mr. Carpenter had sent you, in asking that some of the funds from one of these fund streams be used to set up a fund for Judge Levitt's court to use along with Housing Department to fund some elderly individuals who remain in court. And I knew that this had to be in by the last of August, but even if we postponed it and had it on the agenda for the 31st, we would still have time to make the deadlines.
Let me ask Victor just a timing question.
I think the timing on that was like the latter part of August. And this would be that we would look at on the first meeting in August.
Vice Mayor, members of the board, the question was about timing.
Right. I think Director Adcock was wanting to push this maybe for 2 weeks or to our first meeting in August, so I could consider the issues that Tom had raised.
Yeah, we got an extension from HUD already about submitting the plan. I have to verify that we still have time to be able to make our allocation for 2018. What I did mention to Mr. Moore is the way we're currently set up, we can have priorities for those that are in environmental court and still use our existing system. So we wouldn't necessarily have to dedicate a portion of money, but those that are in environmental court, get those names, see if they are eligible, and prioritize or make them a priority in our owner-occupied rehab, and we could follow our normal process.
I would rather have designated funds for it, because sometimes in priorities, things get kind of mixed up.
The only problem with that is we would have to turn around and amend the current plan, and we'll miss the time to get it turned in to get our 2018 money. So it would be better we move forward like we are, and then after we get it adopted by HUD, then we could come back if we wanted to amend it. We still would have the same option.
I think when I've read Tom's memo over the weekend, and I've talked to Mr. Turner, so obviously it's allowed, but from a timing standpoint, in order that we can meet the HUD requirement on the extension, we do need the board to act on this tonight. The other thing, I think, we're going to have a policy level discussion, because on this particular concept, it would almost say that I could apply for senior citizens assistance, but if I'm not over in environmental court, then those in that senior could rise up on higher than me that's eligible. And so I think that's the policy decision. And again, once we submit the plan, we can amend it. We know it's allowed where you can designate money. It's just having that discussion at this level with you all about how that could impact. And then they also, when Tom talked about this, I'm not sure if this is something we want to do that we could set aside as a pilot program and try to fund it in another fashion also in 2019. But just from a timing standpoint, so we can get our allocation, I would like to ask that we move forward and then have the additional discussion.
I would like to ask that on July 31st, we still keep this on the agenda. Go ahead and let this go through tonight as you want, but to keep this discussion on the agenda. Because I've talked to Judge Levitt, I met with the lawyers for the environmental court, and we have lots of senior citizens that are having to come to environmental court. They know they cannot pay to have their houses repaired, and we send them these 30-day notices, and so they go up there and have to be told again, you haven't done anything, when they know that they can't do anything. So I would like for this to remain on for discussion on the 31st, and go ahead and let this go through, but still have this discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have the adoption of this resolution.
Okay, and I have a number of people who would like to ask additional questions, if that's okay, and we'll come back. Director Richardson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Webb. Bruce, you touched on part of my question, and Victor, you may want to chime in. Even for those that's in environmental court, do we have the capacity to develop an objective process so we can select those who we want to fund, so it doesn't end up being something that's centered around selective salvation? Because I hadn't heard anything that's objective with respect to how do we tease those out with the number that we want to try to fund. I heard you differentiated between those who are in environmental courts and those who are not, who may need this kind of assistance. So do we have anything in place or the capacity to develop some kind of process to make this objective in terms of how we move forward?
And again, we don't at this time, and I think in 2 weeks we can come back and talk a little bit more about it conceptually.
And that's the policy part you were mentioning, you were
correct.
talking about. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Director Wyrick? I apologize. Will you hit your button again?
Thank you. You're in control tonight, aren't you?
Yes.
I believe that we do need to have a policy statement in regards to the rehab on houses. I know Ward 7 only has a small area that falls within the CDBG area, and I had written a proposal that for a particular area, that money was used to rehab some of those homes. And Mr. Moore, you've been through the area that I'm talking about. And Victor had indicated that we were doing that already. But I know some neighborhood folks that would love to help out in the community if they had the funds or if they had a stockpile of paint or boards or something like that to help others repair in the community. I've heard from 2 or 3 neighborhoods about that. So I think it's good that we have another discussion about this. I'm concerned about the seniors. I'm concerned about some of the area, the decline that I'm seeing. And environmental court may or may not be the best thing to happen for those people. So, because obviously if they can't take care of it, then they can't take care of it. So I would love to have some more discussion about this, and I appreciate Joan for bringing that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Hendricks.
Usually I have to break the ice. What they're talking about is something that's been happening all the time with regard to help for the seniors. That's a problem, but I don't think that we can resolve that problem immediately. Probably in time, and I agree with Mr. Moore. Whatever you're saying that you've got to do, that's what you've got to do before it's brought back to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the questions. So, Director Adcock, would you? We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. We will now move to ordinance item number 12. Madam Clerk, will you read the ordinance?
An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas with structural fire and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency and for the purposes. First reading.
We have a motion and a second to place on second reading. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The item is placed on second reading. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas with structural fire and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as is necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency. Second reading.
We have a motion and a second to place on third and final reading. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Madam Clerk, third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to condemn certain structures in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas with structural fire and health hazards, to provide for summary abatement procedures, to direct city staff to take such action as necessary to raise and remove said structures, to declare an emergency. Third and final reading.
Okay. I do not have any questions from board members, nor do I have any cards on this. So, all in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. There's an emergency clause. All in favor of declaring an emergency? Aye. Aye. Opposed? The emergency clause is passed. Item 13 was deferred, so we will move to item 14. Madam Clerk, first reading. Yes.
An ordinance to grant a franchise to Extenet Systems Incorporated.
Mr. Moore, will you see what the I don't have any. have any.
The gentleman was commenting that there are some individuals here on supporting the CareLink proposal, and he didn't think it was fair that I think the item had been deferred. That was his. That's what he was commenting about.
Okay, thank you. And when we get to citizen communication, I have some cards from people who have not spoken on that item previously, who will be recognized at that time. Okay, Madam Clerk, first reading on ordinance 14.
An ordinance to grant a franchise to Extenet Systems Incorporated as a fiber optics provider within the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, to permit the use of city rights-of-way and city property and airspace, and for the purposes, first reading.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and move to a second reading. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes. Madam Clerk, second reading.
An ordinance to grant a franchise to Extenet Systems Incorporated as a fiber optics provider within the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, to permit the use of city rights-of-way and city property and airspace. Second reading.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading. Madam Clerk?
Did you vote?
Oh, I apologize. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, no. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to grant a franchise to Extenet Systems Incorporated as a fiber optics provider within the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, to permit the use of city rights-of-way and city property and airspace. Third and final reading.
Okay. Director Hines, you have a question on this item?
Bruce, normally when we authorize a, I'm sorry, or and maybe Mr. Mann can tell me, do we have are we getting, since this is a fiber optic franchise, are we getting compensation for the use of our rights-of-way through this franchise agreement?
Yes, Director Hines, we're getting 5% of the gross revenues earned by the company, plus we're getting 4 pair of dark fiber for use for governmental purposes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Thank you. We have read the item 3 times, I believe. So do we have a motion? Okay, we're ready to vote. All in favor, aye. Opposed, no. The ordinance is passed. Ordinance number 15. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled The District at Midtown Longform PCD, located at 600 South University Avenue, or the northwest corner of Interstate 630 and University Avenue, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes, first reading.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place on second reading. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Madam Clerk, will you read the ordinance? Second reading.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled The District at Midtown Longform PCD, located at 600 South University, or the northwest corner of Interstate 630 and South University Avenue. Second reading.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading. Madam Clerk?
Vote. Got to vote.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled The District at Midtown Longform PCD, located at 600 South University Avenue, or the northwest corner of Interstate 630 and South University Avenue. Third and final reading.
Thank you. Director Adcock.
Vice Mayor, we've got this wonderful, wonderful looking book here, our seats tonight. And I would just like for the applicant to just kind of show some of these pictures if we have some, Scott. I think this is very important to the people of Little Rock, what's going to be done. This is a Sears property, I understand. And I think that people would like to see the plans for this property.
Is the applicant here? And while the applicant is approaching, I will say that this is in Ward 3, and I've met with them on several occasions, and they've met with the Briarwood Neighborhood Association on multiple occasions, and Director Wright as well, and probably others.
I think that a lot of us, since Sears closed down, wondered what this was going to be. I think these plans are so neat that everyone would enjoy seeing them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Robert Brown. I'm with Development Consultants, and we are assisting with the planning, plan approvals and civil engineering on this project. Mr. Chris Anderson is here from Dallas. He is with Provident Realty Advisors, and one of their partnerships is the purchaser of this property and will be the developer of the property. So we have a few slides that they're going to pop up here. It's the same thing that's in the booklet. Basically, this is a color rendering of the site plan. The total property is a little under 30 acres. It's got a mix of mostly restaurant with, well, mostly restaurant sites. The majority of the use is still with, square footage wise, is with medical office buildings.
Mr. Brown, would you tell us where University is on that map and
It's on the right side, on the east side.
on the side over here?
Yes, ma'am.
And then your other streets, does it go all the way back to?
It goes all the way to what is now called Midtown Avenue.
Okay.
And then on the west side is a private street, McKinley Street, that backs up to Cardinal Heights addition. And along the south side entirely is the I-630 right-of-way and the westbound on-ramp down at the southeast corner.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to repeat? I'm sorry. Okay. University is on the east side, the right side of the drawing. Midtown Avenue is all along the northern boundary. On the west side, there's McKinley Street. That's a private drive that extends about halfway down the property. And adjacent to that is Cardinal Heights subdivision. Along the south boundary of the property is Interstate 630, and at the southeast corner, that's a little bit of the on-ramp for the westbound traffic there. Okay. Again, the site, majority of square footage is in medical office buildings, with the doctor's building that will remain and the parking deck. On the northwest corner is the medical office building that was built, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. The site between the two is vacant property right now, and on the plan is a placeholder for a hotel site. The lower half of the property has another hotel site on the west, a row of restaurant and retail out parcels along the south, and in the middle of the property as well. So there'll be a mix of a lot of new restaurants, some with drive-throughs, some that are sit-down, some new retail space, 2 hotels that are programmed in this concept plan. And probably overall there's about, I'd say about 18 and a half acres that's newly developed if you count all of the Sears and ASO property, as well as the vacant site between the doctor's building and the medical building on the northwest corner.
Okay. Can Scott show some more of the pictures?
This is aerial rendering prepared by some of the architects that did the plans, O'Brien Architects. These were done for Provident. And go ahead and flip through a couple more. This is a rendering of the entry at University. There's a divided area there and the sign for the entry. Another aerial rendering showing things a little bit closer. The background there shows the doctor's building, and in the foreground of that is one of the retail restaurant buildings. This is a traffic circle on the left side that's in the middle of the property. Another close-up of building rendering, building images. It'll be nice architecture, high-quality materials. These are all concept renderings. These are a few pictures of the signs. The good pictures, we just went through all of those. But the signage will be, very tastefully done. It'll be masonry, stone. There will be some uplighting on them that conforms with the district standards. Let's go to the next one. These are a couple of, I guess you'd call them pylon signs. One of those is planned up at Midtown Avenue, and another one or another two in the central areas of the property. This one that's the one at the southwest corner where you would come in from Bluebird Lane in Cardinal Heights. And then the next one we have, that's a typical tenant sign. So you can see they all have a nice appearance to them. I think that's all I had a copy of that's the signage plan key. Go one more slide, please. And that last one, that's just our official PCD site plan that went through Planning Commission and was approved.
Thank you very much. I thought that people might like to see this. I know lots of the people here live over in that area and that they might like to see what's coming. Can you give us a time frame of when it's going to start and when it's going to be completed?
I'll let Chris let y'all have a little bit more information about that.
Well, that's a question that we had. I'm sorry. Chris Anderson with Provident Realty in Dallas, Texas. That's a question that I was asking Robert earlier today. How far along are we on production, and when do we think production of drawings, and what's the time frame for the city to review and so forth to give us an idea about groundbreaking? And Robert here is pretty aggressive. He thinks we could be ready to go maybe in September with just the earthwork. But I think we're going to try to package this all together and select some general contractors from here to look at the entire package of utilities and paving and landscape and all of that together. It may take us a little longer to roll that all into one package, but city staff will begin to see plans for grading and drainage very soon, next month, and followed by the utilities and so forth. So hopefully we'll be making a lot of dust later in the fall.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
You're welcome.
And if Director Richardson?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. I didn't know we had this presentation to be shown, and I'm glad we had it. One quick question with respect to the timeline. What impact will the expansion of I-630 have on this project, if at all, any?
Well, we've been working locally with Ernie Peters' shop for traffic analysis here and traffic design. Part of the project is an additional traffic signal. Ernie's been working with the Highway Department related to their plans for there and the ability for us to replace. Currently, there's an opening to go onto the on-ramp, as you know, at the very southwest corner. They want to combine that on-ramp with the current on-ramp that is coming from University. In doing so, they wanted to not have any additional connection. We convinced them that we still wanted to have a connection, but they wanted it farther back in the site. So that kind of led us to this design with the traffic circle and the two crossing streets in the middle, and where we'll have a dual lane, one coming out, one continuing, so that you can still come through our site and be able to leave from there. So we've been coordinating with them pretty tightly. We have their engineering drawings for their improvements, and we're incorporating that and whatever grading they're doing and changing in the widths of the pavements into our plans as well.
So with respect to a timeline, will it have any kind of impact in terms of slowing it down or?
Oh, none at all. We're hoping that their work is done before we're ready to make our connection.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for the presentation, and thank you all for the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've had 3 readings, so we're ready to move to a vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. We will now move to a public hearing, item number 16, and I will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk,
An ordinance to abandon a number of easements and covenants located within the Little Rock Land Company and Medical and Commercial Park bounded by South University Avenue, Midtown Avenue, McKinley Street, and Interstate 630 in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes first reading.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules in place on second reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Madam Clerk, second reading.
An ordinance to abandon a number of easements and covenants located within the Little Rock Land Company and Medical and Commercial Park bounded by South University Avenue, Midtown Avenue, McKinley Street, and Interstate 630 in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, second reading.
We have a motion to suspend the rules in place on third and final reading. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to abandon a number of easements and covenants located within the Little Rock Land Company and Medical and Commercial Park, bounded by South University Avenue, Midtown Avenue, McKinley Street, and Interstate 630 in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas. Third and final reading.
Thank you. I think this is the first time we've had a public hearing since I've been in the chair. And is there anyone who wishes to speak for or against? And I'm going to close the public hearing. And we will now move to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ordinance passes. We will now move to citizen communication. We have 3 minutes are allowed to present a specific item that has not been previously brought to the board or is not already on the agenda. This time is allotted to express a written or oral viewpoint, grievance, or other message. A maximum of 30 minutes is allotted for citizen communication each meeting. No advance permission is required. People are required to fill out a yellow card and hand it to the city clerk. And I have 11 cards. We have 30 minutes, so I would ask you to make your remarks slightly under 3 minutes so we can make sure that we give everybody who has signed up the chance to speak. And we will start with Cheryl Yancey, speaking on road and drainage infrastructure. Ms. Yancey.
Good evening, board members. I have spoken to Ms. Doris Wright, which is my ward director. You have referred me to Bruce, and I'm just trying to get an update on what's going on. I've been leaving messages trying to call you. I've been leaving a message for Bruce. I have not gotten an answer. And this is, I don't know if you told me you was coming out to look at that drainage problem on side my property. Did you ever, you did? Okay. So I have to wait on him, so I guess I just go take my seat then and let somebody else.
Yes, I won't take your time. The next card I have is from Nathaniel Yancey on
That's
the
right.
same
Same
topic.
issue.
And we're waiting for.
I got something to say for real, and I'm kind of pissed off about this because this situation started with John Acock. When you put a Band-Aid on something, when you get in water, it will roll off and go. Also for you, Ms. Wright.
Sir,
Okay.
would you speak into the microphone so everyone can?
The thing is, the street on the side of my house have eroded so bad, my neighbors cannot let their kids go outside and ride their bikes because you got potholes and the street have closed up. On one side of the street, on the ditch, water's coming up under there. Okay, one day y'all drivers gonna come through there, I might come through there, and that thing roll out under us and hurt somebody. It needs to be fixed. Bad. It's been going on for 20 years. When they gonna stop? When? That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Mr. Yancey. Bruce, is this something that?
Do I need to show you pictures? I got pictures. Pardon me?
The Corps engineers they did come out.
They came out twice, and I'm telling you.
It's at 3501 Zion.
On Zion Street. Okay? The thing is, why do we, my neighbors and I, also have to maintain y'all property we pay taxes for?
It's an issue.
I got a picture where my neighbor drove his truck down through there to dig a ditch for drainage.
And not only
My neighbor
that,
got down in that ditch and dug for drainage.
the water,
What's the problem?
35.
in Zion, right around the corner from your house door.
I have to,
Okay.
I have my house jacked up twice because of the water coming down off that hill. And my house have to be jacked again because my house is shifted. And I'm not going to pay again for my house to be jacked up and this is not getting fixed. This is an issue that I've been dealing with for over 20-some years.
Come on, Cheryl. Let's get somebody else time to talk. Okay? They don't get it.
Just fix this issue for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yancey.
We could act. Over 20-some years, we acted. I done paid for my house over 30 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Yancey. And Mr. Moore, is this something that we're going to follow up with?
It is.
We have, can you turn it?
Director Wright?
Mr. Yancey? Yancey, yes. I live at Cobb, and 37th and Cobb is in the same shape. My neighbor next door.
Okay,
Yeah.
he's out of it.
So you know 37th Street is in the same shape.
Okay.
Money.
Keep order.
This is citizen communication, but we would like to follow the process and have some decorum in the room.
Thank you. No.
I'm gonna get out because I'm getting pissed off about the situation a little bit.
You told me.
Okay. And Mr. Moore, we will follow up
We will.
with any follow-up that needs, that
We'll
that
do a
needs to
site
be done.
visit and look at what we.
Okay. Thank you. The next card I have is from Eleanor, and I'm not sure of your last name. Eleanor L. Coley. Coley.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Eleanor Coley. It's been a while since I've stood before the Board of Directors. This time it is about a total different issue. This concerns the CareLink Fitness and Wellness Center, in which several of us has been very concerned about because it's the only center for handicapped and elderly people to here in Little Rock to be able to exercise and receive wellness and fitness assistance there. We're very much concerned about what will happen when we don't have it anymore, if that happens. And I do understand that there are plans for it to be closed on the end of this month. And that is an extension from it supposedly be closed on the 31st of last month or the 30th of last month, whatever. Now it's being deferred for whatever reason. And we're concerned about all of this because many people don't know where to go. There are several people living in the neighborhood that are able to walk there because they live about a block from the center. And they call that exercise to help them to get there. There are some, such as myself, that has to get a handicap bus to get there from across town. I have to pay my way there and back, but I'm willing because I need this. I myself have been in very good condition prior to last year, in which there has been some talk about me having a weak side because of a mini stroke. Otherwise, I wouldn't be walking with this cane, and it's very uncomfortable for me to do that. There is someone here that is very much in need of the help. And when I say someone, that's more than one, actually. There are several people in here that can back me up in that. Would you stand or raise your hand?
Okay.
And then there are many that are not here that left because there were 2 people that left because they were ill. And their ride was here and they needed to go since their ride was here. Now, we're very concerned about all of this and appreciate very much if something is done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collery. Our next speaker is June Clark.
Good evening, directors. My name is June Clark. I live in Ward 1. I am 65 years old, and I also attend the CareLink Fitness Center. When I retired in 27, it was my goal to take care of my health, because we all know when we're working, that's the last thing we're taking. By chance, I saw a CareLink sign, stopped there, and went in. My plan was to exercise 2 or 3 days a week, maybe for 90 minutes. I go there 5 days a week. And if it was open on Saturdays, again, I'd go 6. I'm there for 3 to 4 hours each day because of the activities, the swimming, the land have benefited me. I've actually lost a little weight, have more control of my diabetes, but it's all because it's a dedicated center. I feel comfortable walking into a dedicated senior center. I have gone to other facilities. I've actually signed up for a year and didn't go back. But I've signed up for a year with CareLink, and again, I go every day, and it's been very beneficial. Again, it's just the environment that we walk in. We feel comfortable. We feel valued. We know that they're there for us, to take care of us, and us senior citizens know we need a little more help than some of the others. So again, I would appreciate it if you all would consider us, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Mr. Michael Washington. Okay. We appreciate your enthusiasm, and typically, other than during a presentation, we try to follow certain rules of decorum and not clap. So, but we appreciate your enthusiasm. Mr. Washington.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Michael Washington. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, born and raised. I currently work with CareLink Fitness and Wellness Center. I am the activity instructor there. I've been at that facility since December 2011. Before it became CareLink Fitness and Wellness Center, it was the Best Chisholm Stevens Community Center, which was sponsored by the Centers for Youth and Families. With the position that I hold now, I am the instructor that teaches all of the land and aquatic classes. I'm also a personal trainer, not for CareLink, but that's just something that I do as well. And to just kind of get to the point, I thought about writing a speech and trying to come up with all these big medical terms and just all of that, but I said I'm just going to speak from the heart. All of these people that you see behind you, I love them, they love me, they love their center, I love that center. It's not just about what I'm trying to say. It's not just about them coming in and just working out. It's not just about saving that center, it's about saving lives. Okay? Their lives are being saved at that center, and I'm a part of it, and I take very, very good pride in it. I love what I do. I wouldn't change it for the world. So what I want to say is that if you can find it in your heart to help us in any way possible, and I know y'all may be, and I guess I'm assuming, but you may be nervous about the place not being able to bring in revenue. There's other ideas that I've came up with that can bring in revenue to that place. One more thing, when I've been working there for years, just like I told you, what I notice is that seniors, when they come there, they usually come here from about 6 a.m. to maybe 1 p.m. The place is in operation from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. From that 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., from that time frame is busy. You see all these people plus many more. but from maybe 1 to 7, it is no one there. There's a way to bring in people there. So what I would like to ask, and I'm hoping I'm not stepping on any toes with this, is that we keep the CareLink program to make sure that we take care of our seniors. But for the remainder of that operation, like I said, there are ideas. Maybe we can open up the age gap or the age limit and bring in kids to do swim lessons. We can do water aerobics. We can do boot camps. Step aerobics. It's personal training programs. There's all type of things that we can do for this facility. It's an awesome facility, but we just have to utilize it correctly to bring in more revenue. All right. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. William Shear. I'm
Thank you. I'm Bill Swear. I live at 30 Forest Valley Lane, which is way out on West Little Rock. I travel 3 days a week to use that center. I apologize, Mr. Moore. I hope you can forgive me. He thought I was very angry, and that's just me because of my size. I was just annoyed. You shouldn't start out annoyed when you're asking for something. $90,000 for the rest of this year is a ton of money. I've ran 2 businesses, and I know what $90,000 is. That's a lot of money. I don't know where you're going to get it. I won't be redundant. Please find it. Please find it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swear, and I apologize I mispronounced your name. Director Hendricks, do you have a comment?
Young man, could he come back to the mic? Oh, you have many others. I'm not going to be long.
We've got additional cards.
Okay.
Yeah, and I believe we used his 3 minutes.
What I was going to suggest to you, have you talked to Mr. Moore?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, maybe one day you can set an appointment and talk with him and share with him what you just said to us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
I will.
you.
And that's a suggestion, and maybe we can do that. Ms. Hughes, Patsy Hughes. And while you're coming up, I think we all heard some noises a minute ago. It was when people's phones were going off because of flood warnings, and everybody was kind of looking around, not sure what that was, and that's what it was.
Thank you.
Ms. Hughes.
My name is Patsy Hughes. I'm a senior, and I live in Ward 4. Over the weekend, I sent my testimony. I sent my testimony letter to everyone on the board, and I hope you read it. Over the weekend, I spent time searching the City of Little Rock website for references to seniors. On the Little Rock Parks and Recreation section, I found the community centers and what they might offer seniors in the event our center closes. I've prepared a screenshot, and I'll give you a handout of the section on the sidebar called Aging and Active Program under the title for Residents of Little Rock. It reads, Little Rock Parks and Recreation is proud to offer a variety of recreational programs and activities for individuals 55 years of age and older. Activities include day trips, crafts, board games, card games, social hours, and special entertainment. It shows a picture of 2 sweet ladies painting ceramics. I can tell you, my friends here, we have other activities we want to do. We want to swim, we want to do boot camp, we want to do water aerobics, Zumba, line dancing, Tai Chi, and spend time with each other. So, in closing, from the CareLink proposal to the city, the Little Rock demographics show that 30% of residents in Little Rock are 50 years of age or older. And we need a place. Thank you for your time. I also have a petition members of the center have signed. We've gathered these signatures from our members that have been, who do I give this to you? We gathered these in the last 2 days from our members that have come into the center. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Ms. Hendricks?
I'm going to make it that tells you something, doesn't it? I think I'm one of the oldest that attend there. I'm in that last 10, found 10. I'm looking forward to my 93rd birthday. And one Patsy didn't mention that I'm very dedicated to is beanbag baseball. And it's amazing that the capital city doesn't have a place dedicated to senior citizens. I've lived here in Little Rock since 2008. Came up from Columbia County, attended the recreational center at SAU. Looked for one when I got here. My insurance pointed me to, it was the best Chisholm Center at that time. It's closer to me. My children wouldn't let me drive any longer, so I had to get transportation. So I got the city transportation, curbside. So that's what I use. But as Pat mentioned, all of these other activities are there, and they concentrate on fitness and wellness. And those are important things. I have both knees replaced in 1995. Oh, that exercise is good for me. As I said, I was into the program already. My doctor had put me into it down at SAU. And so I've managed to keep that up. Okay, as you mentioned, diabetes, health in general. Michael there, he'll get on us about it. If we eating such and such a thing, or don't eat that, the other. All of that is good for us. Plus getting out, from just sitting around at home. And it's very, very important. And it also confuses us when you won't come and give us something that's definite. Our insurance is written and said this will be cut off a certain time because it's closing. Then we got a call. That was a mistake. So we need to know something that we can definitely depend on. And let's respect the elders. My grandmother and the aunt used to sew, and they would say, "Come here, hon, and thread my needle for me." That would tickle me to death. They would say, "Just wait," because at one time, my eyes and you see gonna get weak and I've needed. So maybe you might feel like that's not needed now.
Ms. Hendricks,
that was my time up.
Yes, ma'am, and I hate to cut you off. I hate to do that, but your time is up. Kay Gilbreth? Gilbreth.
I'll talk for just a second. I'm Kay Gilbreth. I live in Ward 2. And I've been going to what we used to call the Best Chisholm for a couple of years now. Director Wyrick prayed for the strength for the seniors, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Going to Dunbar Community Center and learning to knit is fine if that's what you want to do, or doing ceramics. But these people are serious about fitness. And we believe that Little Rock should have a dedicated fitness center for seniors. You know all the reasons why this sort of fitness is important, but I can tell you, for instance, I go to water aerobics, and people have brought their granddaughters, 16-year-old granddaughters there who couldn't keep up with us. There are two sisters here who recently learned to swim in their 60s, thanks to Michael. Many people that go to the center did not have an opportunity to learn to swim. They had no place to swim when they were young, and they're learning now. And they're not just learning, they're doing laps. And watching them is what inspired me to, for the first time in my life, swim laps. Now, I'm a retired lawyer. I'm a retired Foreign Service officer. I grew up in Fayetteville. I knew how to swim. I learned when I was a kid, but I'd never done laps. I'm doing laps, and I like it. We believe that we're worthwhile and that there should be. Little Rock is so progressive in so many ways, and to not have a dedicated center for seniors is I agree with this lady, is just unbelievable. And we really ask that you consider doing what you can to help us reach that goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank all of you who were here for speaking tonight. Russ Raycop.
Vice Mayor Webb, Board, Bruce Moore, City Manager. Unfortunately, I'm coming up here tonight to speak about the lack of transparency we have in the city. Now, the city has hired a FOI coordinator. Unfortunately, they hired one with little or no experience with the Freedom of Information Act. Her previous job was working at Goodwill. And you've got her working under the Human Resources Department, not under the City Attorney's Office. And I can tell you the brief experience I've had with her, that Matt Campbell's had with her, that Ian Bordeaux's had with her, things aren't looking good for that position. And unfortunately, you don't have the police department under her. They're keeping their own bailiwick, and it's too bad that the chief has left, because this week I'm glad that he's told his police officers that he's always ready to be served, because he's going to be served with another FOI denial of rights suit. They didn't learn the lesson the last time, where they lost the city, or the chief of police lost the lawsuit that I had filed for my denial of rights. But now they've got 4 different requests that they haven't provided a response to. They said they'll get to them when they can, and that's a violation of my rights. So the chief is going to be sued again. Mr. Carpenter and his team of crackerjack attorneys, and I'm using that term sarcastically, are going to spend most of their summer fighting these FOI suits. I urge the board to promulgate a resolution, some talk of moving the police department's FOI unit under a coordinator who will coordinate these things, stay on the department's back to and other city departments to get these responses out in statutory time, to do the right thing. And the city touts it being winning these awards for transparency, but that's a dog and pony show. And I appreciate your time, and I urge y'all to consider that and to look at this position and get it filled with somebody that knows what they're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Raycop. Mr. Scrable, Luke Scrable.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Webb, Board of Directors. Thank you for granting me the privilege to exercise my First Amendment rights. I came last week and told you I'd be back today. I'm trying to see if you'd use your authority to clean up the false police charges I had. I got a new set of documents on Friday, and they were different from the ones I got 3 years ago. So we got 2 sets of records that are even more false than they were when I came and then made the request.
Mr. Scrable, I won't take your time for interrupting you, but Mr. Mann has...
Vice Mayor Webb and members of the board, I've just been made aware, and I think Mr. Scrable said this, that this particular item that he's speaking about now was brought up the last time he appeared for citizen communication. And under the board's rules, that 3 minutes are allowed to present a specific item which has not been previously brought to the board's attention. So this would come under that rule.
Right. If the vice mayor will look on the back of my card and confer with Mr. Mann, you can find out that that is not what I wrote the last time. I'm here to get the results of what I asked you last time. I asked 2 specific questions. Who put those false records on there? Since the 2 weeks, I found that out through the IT department and the FOI lady at the police department. But I'm here to get the results of what you have done after I came here 2 weeks ago and a year ago, asking you to use your authority to remove the false police reports and crimes that you don't have police incident reports to substantiate or arrest disposition records. So until you can either produce the records to show those crimes you put on my record 3 years ago are legitimate, as I told the mayor today, I'll go back just like Mr. Rakup and we'll be in federal court. And today is the year anniversary. I won my case against this board of director, city manager, and the mayor when you violated my constitutional rights to free speech for 35 and a half months. 4 months after the judge said that you violated my constitutional rights and your ban was unconstitutional. And people like Miss Peck there, never met her before, never talked to her ever, never been in her restaurants. She voted twice. Once after the judge said that your ban was a violation of the Constitution. And I got everyone in this room voting to deny my right to free speech. And you guys use the lies of the city manager. 3, I've given you. They're printed on the affidavits. And I've showed you the lies on the police reports. I want them removed because they're defaming my good name. I'm the victim here. I'm the winner. You guys were the ones that did the wrong based on the magistrate judges information. I'm going to be back in 2 more weeks. I don't care if the one-time rule is in the books. It ain't in the law. You guys never signed it into law. I'll be back.
Thank you, Mr. Scrable.
Till my record is clear. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mann, did you have another comment that you wanted to make?
No, Vice Mayor, nothing
Okay.
further.
Mr. Moore, did you? Okay. We have concluded citizen communication. I do see a question from Director Wright.
Yes, I want to address the CareLink facility question. Please know that facility is very, very important. I understand how important it is to you. And I would like for Mr. Moore to please consider the original request, which was to keep the facility open and utilize it for our neighborhood resource center as well as a senior center for the West Central seniors that would allow 2 city departments to be located in there. And that way the city could actually lease the building from CareLink. By doing that, that would keep the facility open, keep the seniors that are there in place, and they would keep access to all the services. And rather than trying to come up with $180,000, I think it would be a lot simpler to come up with a least amount of money and us to sign an agreement with the CareLink board so that the city could lease that for 2 to 3 years. And by then, we'll see whether or not we can afford to buy it. But right now, our finances are stretched. Everybody understands that. But I don't want to see the building closed. When a building is closed, it deteriorates. And these seniors, I think it was about 500 of them, will be displaced. And I don't want to see that happen. They need the access to the pool. I understood what staff said. about the other programs that the city has at the Jim Daly. I agree with the speaker that came up and was talking about those programs. That's not what these seniors want. They want to remain active. They want a dedicated facility, and I believe that we as the capital city should have a dedicated facility for seniors. I was shocked when I did some research and I found out that we are the only city in the region that does not have an advisory council that addresses our senior population. The only city. And I looked at 20. And from the small to large, we are the only one, and this is the capital city. I think that we need that advisory council. The mayor is setting up that advisory council so that can help us going forward. But in this situation, I'm asking Mr. Moore to please, in the time that you have deferred this, review our Neighborhood Resource Center, which is looking for a location to relocate to, and look at the West Central Senior Activity Center. The space is too small. The seniors there have outgrown it. They want to move. I saw some of them here. They're here. They're out in the audience. I see 4 of them. They want to move. It would be easier access for them, better handicap accessibility for them. They wouldn't have to walk as far to get to the facility, and that would keep the CareLink building open. So if you would please consider that and let our seniors know that we are very much concerned about them. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Hendricks?
Be brief. I want you all to know that this is an election year, and I want to be honest with you. It's left up to Mr. Moore as to what happened and this board. The money is not here. I know we're concerned about the center, but think about your neighborhoods, the streets, the houses. All of that needs to be taken care of. So don't think that we're just talking about what's best for you all. I think what we need to talk about is what's best for the entire city. And I know in our area where minorities live, it's ridiculous. See? And we've talked about it. I've been here almost 12 years, and that's what we've talked about. And some of those things still exist. Rundown houses, drugs, you name it, it's there. So all of that is important to me. So I just want to let you know it's left up to Mr. Moore and this board what happens. So I'm not going to make any false promises the election year or not. I'm not that type of person. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hendricks. Director Wyrick?
I just want to follow up behind Director Wright. I think you see from the people that are in the audience today that they have a sincere interest in fitness and wellness. They're not about knitting and crocheting and those kinds of things. So I hope that we can find a way to help keep this center open. I went over there yesterday. I kept getting phone calls and emails, and I knew that the folks were working on petitions and talking to people. So I went over there, and there was a group of them just working really hard, trying to figure out a way to make this happen and to actually let you all know how much interest they had and how much they wanted to keep it open. And I convinced Michael Washington to come and talk because he's the hero of all these people that are here today. He keeps them going, keeps them moving, keeps them motivated and energetic. So I'm still interested in trying to find a way to keep this open.
Thank you, Director Wyrick. Move we adjourn. Second, all in favor, aye. Opposed, no. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.